Last month, Sheree and I had an opportunity to go to the Orange Conference. And orange is the curriculum that we use. Orange is also a color. And the reason that the brand is known as orange is they take the red representing the love of the family and yellow representing the church. And when you mix yellow and red together, you get orange. So orange is the name of the company. Orange is the name of the curriculum. Orange is the name of the conference that we were able to go to. And this was my second year going. We've already bought our tickets for next year because it's such an impactful moment in our ministry and also in our walk with Christ just to go. And basically, it's for youth leaders from all over the country. There were 7,000 people there. There's nights of worship. There's day-long educational sessions, breakouts for every area of ministry. So what I'm going to do today in the time that I've been given is unpack that conference for you, share with you some of the wisdom that we got from some amazing leaders, big name people from all over the country. Andy Stanley, who pastors a church in Georgia, Judd Wilhite, who's out in Las Vegas, big leaders there to share with youth ministers because they know the importance of youth. Before we get into today's message, you're going to hear me use a word a lot today, and that word is next gen. And when it's used, we think of technology originally, like the next generation. It's the iPhone 6. It's the GoPro video camera. It's the latest and greatest gadget that they're trying to market to you to get you to buy something by saying it's awesome, it's great. But this word is also going to be used in ministry today, and I'm going to introduce you guys to it. Typically, in traditional ministry, and I apologize, the images are hard to see, but basically you have preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school ministries. And in a lot of churches, these ministries are going all different directions. And they're not uniform, they're not under the same umbrella, and there's various leaders, and they're conflicting with different goals, different calendar events, and this gets frustrating for the ministers, but it also gets frustrating for you guys as the parents because now our schedules we've got double booked events and so on and so forth, and it's hard getting your kids here or there. So this next gen term puts all of these in order. So it's basically a cradle to college mindset. And next generation is basically ministry to multiple age groups who are the next generation. So these are third graders, these are 3-year-olds, these are 6th graders, these are 12th graders. These are people that are the next generation in the world, the next generation of our church. And so this model encourages mixed age activities, relationships, getting the families involved, because quite honestly, you guys spend a lot more time with these kids in your homes than we spend with them here at church. So my goal is to also partner with parents and help you broaden your reach and broaden your impact that you can have on your kids. So later on in the sermon, you're going to hear how next generation is going to apply to Mooresville Church. But we're going to jump back to the conference. And the theme of the conference this year was, it's just a phase, so don't miss it. And when someone tells us it's just a phase, that's typically done to kind of like console someone, like, oh, your kid's going through this. It's just a phase he's going through. Just as a kind of a comfort, like soon it's going to be gone. And as a parent, we say, man, I can't wait for that phase to be over with. I can't wait to my kid to get out of the stage. Think of the parent with an infant with colic that cries all the time, or the parent of the kid that wakes up all hours of the night. We say, hey, it's just a phase. Eventually they're going to be 3 years old and they're going to sleep all night long or whatever. Some time ago we were visiting some friends of ours who have twin girls, and currently they're 2 years old. So pray for them. Yeah. But we're there and our kids are there, and Matt, the husband, says, man, I cannot wait until my kids are independent like your kids. I can't wait till they can just go get their own drink. They can eat by themselves. We don't have to put them in a high chair. He's going on, and we're like, dude, that's not true. You need to embrace these moments while they're here. You need to cherish these moments while they're here, because when they do get that big, while that is great to be able to sit down in the morning and know that they can get breakfast themselves, it's also sort of sad to see them continue to grow and grow and grow. And so, we reminded him that, hey, once this phase is over, it's over. Unless you have another child, you're not going to get these moments back. So make the most of the moments that you've got with them. And so, what is a phase? Simply put, a phase is a time frame in a child's life when you can leverage distinctive opportunities to influence their future. So we went over the preschool, middle school, elementary models, and there's some questions that these kids in these different age groups are struggling with and they ask sometimes, and I'm going to give you some ways that we can kind of help them as a church and as leaders in their lives. The preschool age kid is common to say, they're thinking, am I able? Am I able to walk? Am I able to do this by myself? They want this, they're motivated by safety. They're worried about if they try to do this, they're going to get hurt, so they kind of hesitate to do it. Even to climb up on stage, different events, but we need to embrace their physical needs that they have. 3 things we need to tell them. We need to tell them that God made them, God loves them, and God wants to be their friend forever. These are the 3 things that they need to know as a preschool age kid before moving into the elementary stage. In the elementary stage, these kids are struggling with, do I have what it takes? Some of them are trying out for basketball teams. Some of them are looking to be in school plays, student government, student council, whatever you want to call it. They're now, it's popularity. It's, do I have what it takes? Am I good enough? These are issues that these kids are dealing with, and that I see my son dealing with, and Brooklyn as well, in their elementary age. But they're also motivated by fun. These kids like to have fun. They will do whatever they can to have fun and laugh and such with one another. 3 things that we need them to know. The first one is, I can trust God no matter what. I need to make wise choices, and I need to treat others the way I want to be treated. These are 3 things that we're going to pour into these kids in our youth ministry here at church, that they know, if it's just 3 things that I can teach them, these are the 3 things in each age group that I want them to get. At this elementary age, we begin to answer questions with them about what it means to take Jesus as their Lord and Savior. We want to have that dialogue with them. We encourage them each week to talk with us if that's something they're considering, if that's something that they're hearing. What does that mean for them? This is when we're ready to have that conversation. The next step is middle school. Middle school is, who do I like? They're thinking, they now no longer see that girl or that boy as having cooties. They're now seeing them as, man, she's kind of pretty. Or, wow, he looks kind of handsome in his outfit today. I don't think handsome is a word that a middle school girl probably uses, but they're thinking, they're finding the other sex attractive. And so who do I like? And again, these kids are motivated by acceptance as well. They want to, we need to affirm their personal journey and where they're at. The 3 things that a middle school kid needs to know is that I will love God because He's never stopped loving me. I will follow Jesus because He knows me better than I know myself. And I will live out God's story so that others can know who Jesus is. We typically, at this age, we're going to be speaking into their lives about how to get more involved. I'm going to start challenging these kids to start serving in church, to start volunteering with the younger kids, to look to get involved in their community and in their school, to do things so that, again, that others can see Jesus in them. That takes us into high school, the four final years of the phase that we're focusing on. These kids are motivated by freedom. I know there's one high school graduate in the room today that is freedom, like no more school. And that is so awesome, you think, as a senior. But there are times when I think, man, I would love to be in high school again. And some of us say no, and some of us say yes, but that's something that at times, there were a lot less worries for me in high school than there are now. But we need to mobilize their potential. We need to see these kids as difference makers. They're the ones that we need to, we need to equip them to own their faith. They're going to go away to college, and they're going to enter a new world that is scary. And college campuses and things that go on and the parties and whatnot. Three things that they need to know before they head out is that I am created to pursue an authentic relationship with my Creator. I will belong to Jesus Christ and define who I am by what He says. I exist every day to demonstrate God's love to a broken world. That second one, I will belong to Jesus Christ and define who I am by what He says. That one is still important for you guys in this room. Every single person needs to know that that's who we define ourselves by, not by what the world says about us, but by who Jesus said we are. Whether you've got a kid, preschool, elementary, middle school, or high school, it's just a phase, and it's not going to last long. So don't miss it. And as a parent, it's easy to think, man, if I can just get my 6-year-old daughter to shoot and make a basket on a 10-foot goal, I'm a better parent than the next parent because my child can do that. My child's a better basketball player. So instead of letting her go out and play what she wants to play, we force her to do something to try to get her to develop in an area that may not mean anything to her. So we cheat in letting them watch movies that they shouldn't be watching because we want to watch them. So don't rush the phases. Allow the phases to take place, but know that they're not going to be around long, and that this isn't going to be, you're not going to be in this area for long. So every phase is a time frame in a kid's life when you can leverage distinctive opportunities in their future. I want to read with you guys this morning in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27. It says, "Then God said, 'Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the seas and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground.' So God created mankind in His image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them." So the first thing I want you guys to know this morning is that every child is made in the image of God. The 3-year-old with the runny nose, the 6-year-old who's constantly talking while I'm sharing a lesson in the back, the 10-year-old who thinks he knows more than me, the teenage girl trying so hard to fit in, the class bully who's making everyone else not want to be at school. All of these kids, every child is created in the image of God. My challenge to you this morning is every time you look at that child that you might really wonder, is that true? It's true. See them that way. As a baseball coach, I see it. I have kids on my team. We question it sometimes. That kid, he just want to strangle him. But he's made in the image of God. And now that I've been challenged to do that, I see them that way. I see the potential there. I see the benefits of that child and the role he has on the team, and the kids enjoy him being there. So these are things that, all these kids are made in the image of God, and we need to see the potential that they have. In Matthew chapter 18, verse 5, it says, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." So as we look at these kids, we must not forget that they are created in the image of God. The second thing I want you guys to get this morning is that we need to give them an opportunity. I firmly believe that the church needs to create a fun environment for kids because Jesus isn't boring. Jesus was not boring. Those that went around with him would tell you most likely that it was not boring. They followed him everywhere he went to see him do awesome things. Him change people's lives. So Jesus isn't boring. We shouldn't have boring environments in a church for them either. But part of that is we need to get the students involved more. Sometimes it seems like sin loves our kids more than the church does because we kind of push them out. We don't allow them to get involved. The next time you guys drive by a junior high or a high school campus, whether it be South Dearborn, whether it be Milan, whichever one it is, I want you to think of that as a mission field. Oftentimes in church, when we hear the word missions, we think we got to get in a plane and fly 15 or 16 or 18 or 20 hours in a plane to go do mission work. There are people in that church or in that campus every single day throughout the school year that need love. that need to hear the good news, that need things done for them, that need to be told that, hey, you're made in the image of God. Hey, we welcome you at our church. Hey, we'd love to have you in small group. Whatever the case may be, this is a mission field, and you don't have to spend lots of time traveling there. So I want us to look at, for instance, in the battle of David and Goliath, in 1 Samuel 17, verse 33, Saul says, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." So Saul's basically saying, dude, you can't do it. You're too young. Problem is, what Saul doesn't know is that David has been fighting battles and winning battles prior to this that have prepared him for this. And it's just like today's generation. They're going through battles right now that I didn't have to deal with in school and that you guys didn't have to deal with in school. There's cutting of your body. There's sexting. There's bullying. There's people bringing guns to school. And not like, because it's a rifle and I'm going out hunting after church, they're bringing guns to school to threaten kids, to possibly shoot campuses up or shoot teachers up. So these are battles that this generation is going through. And just as David has his own ways of fighting, this generation has ways that they're fighting. I have some social networking stats that I kind of wanted to share. It's really hard to see, but basically that 73% of teens are on some type of social media. 22% of them are checking Facebook at least 10 times a day. They are using social networks they have over 201 friends. The average kid, I think 25% of them, that stat is that they have over 201 friends on Facebook. So, as a parent, rather than say, hey, we can't use technology, or as a church say, hey, we're not going to do that, just think if that child that has 201 friends can share a post about a church event and 5 friends come. It's a small step, it's a small number, but those numbers matter because every number is a person, and every person matters to God. So we need to move away from protection and say, no, we're not doing that, to giving them permission, to going out and introducing things and letting them fight these battles and letting them share this news in ways that they're comfortable doing. I think back to when I first started going to church, I grew the most when I was given a challenge. Coming to church and being seated in church, that didn't grow me as a leader, but serving communion, ultimately becoming a deacon. These are steps along the way that are strengthening these kids as leaders, strengthening these kids to help them own their faith and be more proud when they can come to church and say, hey, it's my week to be a greeter, or it's my week to serve communion. We're giving them a chance instead of just saying, you just sit down here and listen to the message. We're getting them involved in what's going on. The last thing I want you guys to get this morning is that God uses broken-hearted leaders. And if you look back at all the major events that happened in the kingdom, you'll often find a broken-hearted leader. Andy Stanley, who I mentioned earlier, is a pastor at what would be considered a mega church in North Point Community Church in Atlanta. He challenged us with 2 questions. His speech was, who are you and what breaks your heart? And you say, well, I'm just a middle-aged male who has a couple of kids and a wife. Okay, what breaks your heart? What is it that keeps you up at night? What is it that you think about when you're at a different event and it just comes in your mind? What are these things that break your heart? In Nehemiah 1, Nehemiah's heart broke for people. He listened, paid attention to it. As a leader, we need to pay attention, and as an adult, quite honestly, we need to pay attention with what breaks our heart. And oftentimes it's the distance between where we are and what breaks our heart that keeps us from doing anything about it. And that's where we need God. We need to ask God to come in and bridge that gap for us. My heart breaks that 75% of regular attending kids will walk away from the church after high school, from the time they graduate to the age of 23. These are regular attending kids. These aren't kids that aren't here today. These are kids that are here today and here every single week, will walk away from the church after age of 18, after they get out of high school. It breaks my heart that for years, churches of all denominations have marginalized kids as you're too young to participate in worship, you're too young to understand teachings, you're too distracting to be in service. I have felt as a parent sometimes in other churches that I felt like my kids were being a total distraction. But that's not what I want us to get today. That we need to understand, just as Jesus said, we need to welcome them and not hinder them. So what breaks my heart also is the amount of temptation and evil that these middle school and high school students are facing, and college students. And I want us to commit as a church to fight for this next generation. To fight, take time and build relationships with them. These kids need sometimes just a loving person in their life that they can share with, because they may not have that at home. It may not be something that they know, but we need to build a relationship with these kids so that we know when mom and dad aren't doing well, or we know when they have an event, and we can kind of support them and encourage them along the way. I think it's worth it, and we're going to make some changes here in the church, and in our homes I'm going to encourage you to make some changes to help them rise up and defeat these evil things that we're faced with. Wow, that's really bad, isn't it? So that is the question, who are you and what breaks your heart? So to go to this conference, spend 3 days away from your family, spend money, time on the road traveling. If you come back and don't do anything with it, it's kind of like wasted opportunity, wasted time, wasted resources. So part of it's planning, part of it's implementation. And I'm going to share with you guys some things this morning that we have put in the works already, that the planning is there, the implementation is going to come. But basically these are things that are going to help us better reach the kids at every phase that they're in. And the first one, the one I'm honestly most excited about, is we're going to start a middle school and high school night. And this is going to be called MHCC 612. The 612 is for grades 6 through 12. Kids in grades 6 through 12, Sunday nights from 6:30 to 8. That generally corresponds with the night worship service here at church. This is going to start in August 2nd, the first Sunday in August. Everyone's calendars are so busy throughout the summer that I know that kids aren't going to be around and aren't going to be thinking I'm coming to church on Sundays during the summer. So we're going to start it in right after our BBS, basically. We're going to start middle school and high school, basically 612 is what we're going to call it. This is going to be games, probably some food, two things that these kids definitely want. Some music that's appropriate for their generation, and most importantly, age-appropriate lessons. Right now, I have kids in the back that are in middle school and in high school, and this curriculum that we're teaching on a typical Sunday morning is really geared for grades 5 and under. So while honesty is great, hopefully that middle school kid already knows about honesty. While patience and all these other things that we've talked about in the past months are awesome events and they're awesome topics that elementary and preschool kids need to know, that middle school kid is way beyond that. And so I've got to adapt as a leader and as a minister to these needs, and we're going to give them age-appropriate lessons. We're going to break them out into small groups and discuss what is it that's going on in your life. I want a relationship with that child and know, hey, these are things that I'm facing when I go to school tomorrow. These are things that my mom and dad are doing that I don't agree with or that hurt me. These are things that my brother has gone through, that my brother's not here because he doesn't feel like he can be accepted at church. I want to know these things with these kids because that's relationship, and good things happen in this relationship. The second thing that we're going to do, and this is really just a change, is that Thrive, which is what I've termed our youth ministry. That's still going to take place on Sunday mornings at 10:30, but that is only going to be for kids in grades 5 and younger. So what that means for you if you have a kid that's in grade 6 or older that comes to church with you is that we're going to ask them to help us. I want them to work with our younger kids. I want them to help Linda in the classroom, or help Jared in the classroom, or help run the sound booth, or help me run worship in the back, or help get communion ready, or whatever that is. I'm going to mobilize these kids into helping serve. Okay, there's some awesome people that serve at church, but everyone needs a break. And so these kids are going to be there to help us out, to serve communion, to do whatever it is that's needed, to help them feel valuable in church, and then know that Sunday nights is the night that they can come and get their lesson, and the night that's going to be geared specifically towards them. The third thing, backtrack. Last weekend, we were out of town visiting Cherie's mom, and we like to go to various churches when we're out of town, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. Vacation from work doesn't mean vacation from church. So if you get out of town, try to find a church you can go to. We found a church. It was Owensboro Christian Church was the name of it, and they used the orange curriculum too. So we talked with Brooklyn and said, hey, you can go to youth group. You can go to their school. We take her back there, and it's a big environment. She walks in and she's intimidated. Obviously, anyone would be with the first time they've been somewhere. And ultimately, she ends up saying she doesn't want to stay, and she comes in service with us. Brayson is there with his iPad during the sermon, taking notes and following along with the scripture passages. I glance over, and Brooklyn is laying down in Cherie's lap asleep. And this is where it got me that, hey, this kid that's going to be in 6th grade can be in service with the rest of the adults and take notes as well as you guys can. This child that's going to be in 2nd grade needs a fun, engaging environment where she can be in. So there are phases that they're in. She'll eventually be that way, and that 3-year-old will eventually be like him as well. But these are just, we just need to get them comfortable and give them an environment that they can thrive in. Mm-hmm. The third change that's going to happen, and it fell exactly, the timing was perfect this month, but this is the 5th Sunday of the month, if you guys didn't know that. Youth Sunday, from this point forward, is only going to take place on the 5th Sunday of the month. So that's going to be 4 times a year probably. And for those of you that are saying, man, I really enjoy seeing the kids up front, I've got an opportunity for you every single week to come see kids. If you just want to give me one Sunday a month to volunteer with me, you'll get to see them. Here's the deal. We're having so many kids now come in that are new to our church, and it's a great thing. It's what we all want. But they don't know what this is all about. They don't know what Youth Sunday is all about. It may be their first Sunday here, and all of us are up here, and it's not the typical thing that happens here. So it's not that we don't like sharing our songs with you, and it's not that we think you don't like our songs. It's just that timing thing, and that chance. We're going to have a better chance to work on our songs, but we're going to be in our environment where our kids are comfortable more often than not. And so Youth Sundays are going to be exactly what they were today. All of our songs. I want youth serving communion. I want youth greeting you at the door. I want everyone else that typically works in church, volunteers, to kind of have a Sunday off at least 4 times a year. So that's kind of what Youth Sundays are going to look like. And just, again, if you want to be with these kids, they're an awesome group to be around, and we would welcome you as a volunteer whenever you want to make yourself available. The last thing that I want to share this morning with you guys is that oftentimes we think what's in a name, a name is only a name, a title is only a title. Well, as I consider a youth minister, that high school kid does not want to be considered a youth anymore. That child is pre-adult. He's a teenager. He's an adult. Some of them, if you ask him that. So what I'm looking to do is go from youth minister to next gen minister. It's a title change. That's all that it is. But you guys have got to help with this, because youth minister has been a term that's been used in churches for so long, and youth can be anything. Next generation is that model of cradle to college, and right now that's the role that I'm in here. those are the kids that we're serving here, and that's the overall ministry that I'm leading here. So next generation, next gen minister, or next gen ministry is something that you're going to see more of around here. Going forward, we're going to have social media accounts set up for these various groups, so that rather than me being a friend with a high school kid or a middle school kid on Facebook, they're going to be liking our church Facebook page. They're going to be liking our church Instagram page, you know, and these kids are going to have their own, so that kids can get on there and like Club 612 for the middle school and high school generation, or like Thrive Ministry for the elementary kids. You know, I encourage you as parents, once these get going, to get on there and like them. And those of you that don't have kids and get tired of seeing what I post on Facebook, because it's typically me that puts it on there, you guys won't see that stuff anymore, because we'll have our own pages, and if you still want to like them, like them. But that's going to help us separate and help us, you know, they can share more stuff with their friends and different social media accounts that we'll have. So it's an area that the world is heading. The world's already there, and we're just going to head that direction as well. So between now and this time of the school year, all these pages and accounts and email addresses are going to be set up. And because I'm getting friend requests from kids that are in church here, and I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want those kind of relationships on my personal Facebook page. So we're going to have a page that they can come to and get church-only stuff. And it's not because I want to hide anything. There's just way too many accusations and things out there. You guys can read stories all over the place of relationships that have gone wrong because of silly things like this. So that's where things are headed. So those are just some changes that, you know, change is hard, but change helps. Change moves us in the right direction. Change is going to allow us, in my opinion, to reach more kids, because age-appropriate lessons, age-appropriate services, age-appropriate activities, and all of these are going to be going along together on one calendar that we can all share in and know when different activities are going on. So lots of stuff is planned and excited, you know, that I'm excited about. I just ask for your prayers and patience and understanding in these changes, and we've prayed over them, we've talked as a church about them, and we're excited to introduce these. So I want to pray, and then we'll have our time of invitation.